Should be
It'll take a moment, a minute or two to update it.
start here in like 5 minutes. I gotta make that song a little taking a break and starting soon. Likey's.
Sending out some notices on Discord and different ones that I'm in. Trying to get some quick promotions out.
It's just at a starting soon screen right now.
Gotcha. I got this for $40 the other day. Yesterday. A $50 Xbox card for $40.
Where,
No, local grocery chain here, Publix. On their digital app that had a coupon, which I remember seeing up there at like Food Lions, that said like buy $50 gift card, get $10 coupon. Well, at Food Lion, it would print the coupon for your next visit. Here, it actually took it off of the actual purchase. So I got the $50 card for $40. I wasn't expecting it.
right.
Maybe get you a fancy microphone and a attachment arm for your desk in the future.
Yeah, I probably will the more like we more we do this and all, but
The arms are $50. They drop the price of $1. They actually have them at Walmart. They have a nice black one that's like all PUBG labeled. All the rain we have here.
none. I've just been cold.
Yeah, that's why it's raining. Like the edge of that cold front. It's basically in the ground on top of it. So you got the hot air and cold air right next to each other. Making lots of rain.
It's supposed to be warmer on Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, better.
What kind of start off?
Yeah. I got the
Make sure I have everything here. Whoops. Cut that down a little bit here while I'm looking at it.
So I got today's show and Friday's show covered on the same notes, essentially. That way I can just plan it out by the week. You know?
Cool. So, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to our first and inaugural episode of who we are, essentially, and I'm sure we're not the only ones. I'm sure there's many, many of you out there that are like this. But we are the two broke gamers. Now, there are going to be more broke gamers that will join us on the show as we progress in episodes. There's going to be a lot of broke gamers. You are more than welcome and encouraged to join us in the chat. Make sure you can ask any questions you want to. We'll try to answer as many as we can. Just kind of depends on how full the room gets and to the degree of the questions. In case you're trying to figure out who we are, I am KODX Factor. I've been in the video game industry for well over 15 years in different ventures. So I've done development side, I've done music production on them, retail, PR, marketing. I've done quite a bit. So I've been within that realm for a long, long time. And this is
I am Blue Diamond Ben. I've been involved in the gaming industry as a fan and on the professional side. Since I was basically 5 years old, I got involved. I, like a lot of people, got interested in game development after playing video game for years. I'm involved in retail, um, the home theater, like game party side, the business side there, as well as even the logistical side of gaming. When any area of gaming you can think of, there's a side for it, including logistics.
logistics, physics, law. There's a little bit of something for everybody when it comes to video game development. So you can't say that you're only focused on game development because look, there's a lot of different avenues. Trust me, I went to school for it. I know a lot of the different avenues that are involved with it. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I actually started classes for it for game design. And I decided programming wasn't for me, but I do have a always had an interest in automobiles and cars racing. And naturally, when I saw logistics was a thing, to get that game on the store shelves on the day of launch at the right hour and have all that coordinated across various states and countries all simultaneously is actually quite a thing. And that's what logistics is as a whole, not just transportation. And I actually found a kind of an enjoyment in that. So you can find gaming in about any industry that you're interested in.
Right. And the main point of this show and why we want to bring it to you guys on a weekly basis is because we are just what the title says. We are two broke gamers, and we know we're not the only ones out there, especially in the economic climate that's going on right now. We know a lot of people is their finances are in different positions. They're in different places. Because of the current pandemic we're in, a lot more people are having to be at home. So you're looking for more entertainment to do at home. But with the new console generation coming up, that could be a little bit expensive. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to find different avenues and different ways of saving you money to get the most enjoyment out of whatever it is you're trying to do video game wise. We're a video game podcast. We're a video game group. That's what we do. If you've ever followed or watched any of our streams on Twitch or YouTube or looked at any of our YouTube videos, you kind of can tell our voices just by the streams that we've done and the games that we play. We got a wide variety of games. It's
Yeah.
it's not one set genre. It's not one set game. They vary. So they
Yeah.
go
And
from the action
even
adventure
between
to
each other, you know?
right between each other because you play a lot of games of stuff that I don't play, and I play a lot of stuff that you don't
Yeah.
play.
I'm a big fan of old school JRPGs. I'm a big fan of retro games and indie games, you know? I'm usually not the guy that buys, say, Assassin's Creed every year. You know, that's just isn't me. I will buy some AAA titles, of course, but largely I'm looking for the unique story driven experience.
And to contrary to what our shirts might say right now, we're not a one console specific fanboy, as a lot of people will probably say, like, oh, you got the Xbox shirts on, they must be Xbox fanboys. That's really not the case. First of all,
No,
I got
this was just poorly coordinated, to be honest.
yeah, we had no conversation about the shirts before we even started doing this. And two, I got this out of the discount bin over at at GameStop because it was like part of the buy one get one free, and I got my son a ninja shirt, and they were like, you can get another shirt for free, and I was like, this one fits
Yeah,
and it looks good.
yeah,
I'll buy
yeah.
this one.
50% off at Target. Okay, it's like I could use a new shirt.
Yeah, mine was free at GameStop because it's part of the buy one get one free. So I I didn't pay for this. It wasn't given to me by Microsoft. So if you're thinking that, no,
Yeah,
I've got
we're not
Sony
that
shirts
lucky.
too. I've got
Yeah, we're
Sony
not
and
that
Nintendo shirts.
lucky.
Yeah, we're not that lucky. But that's our main goal with this show is to kind of present different deals to you you may be asking yourself some questions in regards to games. Is this game worth getting? Is this game worth buying? So we want to do like game, some minor game reviews, product reviews to see whether certain products are worth your time and effort
Yeah.
and hard-earned money.
Yeah.
Same with the
The
mainstream
other
consoles.
the other thing is we don't want to just focus on reviews because honestly the start in saving money is being information. And you can look online all over for gaming reviews and product reviews. So we don't just want to focus there. What we do want to help focus is breaking down the information that if you're not the super weed or techno nerd and you don't understand what a teraflop is or what's such a big deal about the SSDs, we want to let you just be able to understand that. We're not going to go into hardcore tech speculations and comparisons. We're just going to break it down to what it really means to you as a consumer and what your money is going to get you.
So if you're one of the ones that's asking for, let's say you're more on the younger side, you just now starting a job, you're 16 years old, some cases 15 years old, and you're asking your parents for one of these consoles for Christmas, regardless of whether one you're looking to get. And this is we're talking about the new consoles coming out in November this
Yes,
year.
PS5 and the series
X,
consoles coming from
right, the
Microsoft.
Series X or Series S. That's the ones we're referring to right now. And you want them to know the information as well, or you guys are trying to determine, or maybe you're listening to us as a parent. We completely forget about that fact that maybe you're watching us right now as a parent and you're trying to figure out, hey, I know my kid's gonna want one of these consoles for Christmas. Is it a good time? Is it a good time right now to try to get one, especially with everything that's going on?
Yeah.
Is this
So,
something that I could feasibly do this year? We're going to try to break all that down for you and see
yes,
whether this is a good fit for you or not.
because one thing we can mention and speak honestly from our retail experiences with like GameStop and other companies is that a lot of times the parent is more concerned about what they can will get for the money as opposed to what specific system their kid is wanting.
Right.
And that may sound weird or awful, but that was our responsibility in retail was to make sure that the person purchasing was happy with their thing. And we want to help the parents do that as well.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah, so if you're a mom at home and your kid really wants to play whatever new game is coming out, and you learn it's on both the Xbox and the PlayStation, but you see price differences and you're trying to figure out which one's better, we want to help you make that decision in a way that you can understand.
Right. So let's start things off here with with both consoles. We got the PlayStation 5, which launches on November the 12th for
Yep.
$4.99 for the disc version and $3.99 for the non-disc version, which is an all-digital version. And then you got the Xbox Series X, which is the technically the disc version of the console that launches on November the 10th, and that is also $4.99. And then you have the Xbox Series S, which is the all digital version of the new generation console that launches also on November the 10th. And we're just talking about here specifically in the US. Make sure you
Yeah.
check with whatever region you are in as to the release date. I know they're all within like that week. So just make sure you check on which
Yeah.
region specific date yours is releasing on. So there's both those consoles. Now let's look
And
at both of them side by side. If we're looking at the disc version of the PlayStation as opposed to the disc version of the
well,
Xbox.
let's talk about the two systems with their direct comparison. Say the PlayStation 5 disc and the PlayStation 5 discless
Okay.
or digital.
All right,
Okay.
let's do that.
And when it comes to pure specs and pure what you're getting for the money, the machines are identical with the exception of the disc tray. That is it. And the disc tray is not just a DVD or Blu-ray player like in your PlayStation 4 or Xbox One now. It is one of the new Ultra HDs, that's players that sell for what I think they're like $3.99, $4.99 on their own now still.
Yeah, I think they're still kind of up there in price a little bit in the two to
Yeah.
$300 range. Yeah.
Yeah, at Walmart and Target they got the Blu-rays or in the black boxes that say UH or UDVD or UH DVD or Blu-ray or whatever.
Right.
They cost a little bit more. It's basically those. It's like a true 4K experience. And unless you're a video like connoisseur who likes to have the ultimate in fidelity and a physical copy, it's really that's just it. The machines are identical. So you're basically paying $100 extra for the ability to play a physical disc.
Right, and that's with the two PlayStations. The difference between the two, their features and everything are virtually identical. The only difference is that one disc, the disc tray that comes in the 499 version as opposed to the 399 version. Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, you're right. You're getting that ultra, HD resolution 4K disc, disc drive that comes with it. So all the like you said, all the Blu-rays that are out there that you see, like the 4K, the black bar at the top saying Ultra HD, and all that
Yeah.
other mumbo jumbo, it'll play it.
Yeah. And I do want to point out that the disc version of the Xbox has that same disc tray feature. So
Right.
that's not unique to the PlayStation. It's really just one has the tray, one doesn't. And it's going to cost you $100 if you want the physical tray. Now,
Right.
the perk to having the physical tray is that if you're a person that likes to buy pre-owned games, or by that degree share games with friends and stuff that are physical copies, you can do that. With the digital, that's not an option.
Right. So that's one thing you have to take into consideration when you're looking at both is you're gonna if you're one of the ones that buys a game, you play it, you beat it, you trade it in, you take that credit towards something else. The digital version is not really going to allow you to do that because the digital version is essentially you're buying the game digitally, you're downloading on your system. After that, there's nothing else you can really do with it unless, and I can see this maybe being a possibility somewhere later on down the line. We're not talking about right now, but a possibility. I'm just kind of throwing this out there to see what you think. What if somehow Xbox or PlayStation, whichever one decides to try to jump and do it first, allows you to kind of do like almost like a virtual trade-in of your game. You give the game back, you get like a certain credit for it, and you can put that towards something else. Now, it probably won't be like high
Yeah.
monetary value, especially
No.
depending on how old the title's going to be and your time of trade-in as opposed to purchase, or when the game came out. So let's say, for example, you buy a PlayStation 5 digital version on launch day. You got Demon Souls that is going to retail for $69.99, and that's something we'll talk about later. Um, and you play the game for the first 2 weeks, you beat it. Can they set up something to maybe possibly do some sort of like a virtual trade in?
Um, I do know back in the past, Microsoft has actually looked into that. And we're not talking like recent past, that was something around the time of the launch of the Xbox One. So it is something that Microsoft and other companies have looked into, because when you buy a digital game, you get a digital code essentially, and that code is what gives you the ownership of the game. So theoretically speaking, you could sell that code. That is something they have looked into. But again, this is not something that would be coming anytime soon. This is something that may not even hit it if the companies in the field that do this type of stuff were to impose that or start something like that. It's something that probably wouldn't start for another 4 or 5 years. So I wouldn't even consider that as a possibility. But there are
Right.
still advantages to owning stuff digitally compared to physically. And there are advantages of owning games physically. Physically, it's just that you can trade it in at GameStop, you can buy something pre-owned and save a few bucks, you can share games with friends. Um, me and you, I think, did that a few times. Beat a game, and then you would bring it over, and we'd swap games. So we didn't both have to buy the same game because we knew it was something we wouldn't want to keep long term.
Right.
So there is always that to go into with it. Um, but with digital games, you do have further advantage. If you play the game, get tired of it, delete it, and decide you want to go back and replay it, you can just re-download it. It's that simple. Also, digital games, when they go on sale, they tend to be a lot cheaper than physical games. I've picked up plenty of digital Xbox One and PlayStation games for anywhere from $2 to $10 a piece at various points of
Yeah,
the year when they
but
go.
that's it. But that's if you catch it on sale. I mean, 'cause if we're
Yeah,
talking about
yeah,
if we're talking about like a new release, they're both
yeah,
dropping at the same exact price, which again is something we'll talk about later. That to me is has always been a problem, and I think will always be a problem. Um, but yeah, you're right. And honestly, if it comes to like anything like virtual trading, almost, I would think that a company like maybe Steam or the Epic Game Store would come up with something like that before Microsoft or Sony would.
yeah. I would think so too. Although it, PC gaming and console gaming are very similar, but there are some differences, especially on the business side of them. So console gaming can lead in innovation in some areas where PC gaming don't. Um,
Right.
but that's a different subject altogether. So, and you never know, honestly. We just know that Microsoft and Sony has even explored the possibility, but again, it's something that I wouldn't consider right now.
Right.
Um,
So okay. So if we're so that's the PlayStation physical and digital version. Now, what about the Xbox? Because we noticed that the Xbox has a $200 price difference between the digital and the physical versions of those consoles, disc tray wise.
yeah. Well, with the Xbox, it's not just as simple as the disc tray being the only differences. The Xbox Series X is more powerful than the PlayStation, but if you want to get into um, like how much more powerful and stuff, to be honest, it's not a whole lot more powerful. Okay, we're not like I said, we're not going to get into the technical aspect of it. It does offer a better, essentially, resolution or picture and a faster frame rate, or how fast the and clear the video will move. But aside from that, it's not going to be dramatic. Okay, over the PlayStation. Now, the big difference between the two consoles, besides the disc tray, is literally just going to be that resolution. The Xbox Series X will have a 4K true native image, okay, moving at 60 frames a second. What that basically means is it's going to be better looking and smoother image compared to, say, the PlayStation 4 Pro or the Xbox One X now. Okay. The S model is capped. It is better than what it currently is, say the Xbox One S now, but it's not a 4K image. So to be honest, if you don't care about having the disc tray and you don't have a high-end new 4K TV, which would be required to get full advantage of the new consoles, to be honest, um, then go ahead and save your money and buy the Series S in comparison. Okay, they both have the same hard drive space with each other, so that's important to note. All four consoles have a about 1 terabyte SSD.
But let's be honest, it's really like around
Okay,
800 something because the operating systems alone are going to take up
yeah,
about 200 gigs.
yeah. About to say by the time you bring up the operating systems actually make the machines work and stuff, I think there was already some info that came out on Reddit from a the leaked development kit that showed the PS5 had 662 gigabytes available. We haven't seen anything yet on the Xbox's version.
Xbox has 862 or 850 something.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, by the time you minus the operating system and the important software on there, you're still actually getting a decent amount of memory. Um, Not as much as I would like by today's standards, honestly, with how big some games are.
Right.
But yes, the Series S, if you don't have a 4K TV and you don't care about having 4K visuals, I certainly would encourage you to go with the Series S, okay, over the Series X.
Just
Because
keep in mind that right now the digital version on both consoles is extremely limited and hard to find and will be hard to find going into the holidays. So
yes,
if you don't already
play.
have one pre-ordered, getting one at launch date or soon after is going to be really really tough just because they are very very limited on what they're producing of it. Now, there's a couple of theories going around about this as to why, retailers like GameStop, Best Buy, Walmart don't have that many of them. is because they're going to be more interested in the disc tray version of it because the discs are what going to drive their sales because that's what they depend on. The digital versions, don't really help them sales wise because they don't sell digital games. That's the console
No.
manufacturers themselves in their own specific stores that sell that, and they're the ones that are going to get that from you, not the retailer itself. The retailer will get you the console and the accessories, but everything else after that is going to essentially be your doing, not theirs.
Yeah, because something to be blunt, being that we have the retail experience and stuff, like people think that when you buy a say a $500 console from GameStop, that they're making 50 or $100 off the sale. And to be blunt, or the game they're making like $5 or something. Be blunt, we can tell you from experience and personal knowledge, the retailer on the sale of a brand new physical game and machine is making very little to nothing. Okay, they're making pennies essentially on the sale. So they don't
From
have an incentive to sell the all digital version as much as they do the physical, because then they want you to buy more games with it.
when it comes to the consoles themselves, and I remember this from my launch with the, um, I was there shortly after the launch of the 360. I was there for the launch of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. And I can tell you right now, just from an overhead perspective of it, is the retailers will make anywhere between $20 to $50 off of a brand new console, which in all actuality is not that much money at all.
It's not.
So when a GameStop store tells you they've only got 10 units to sell, they're essentially at most making $50 for each unit sold. So 50 times 10. That's what they're making from those consoles. Now, for a digital version, which is much less, they're probably going to make less on that. They may make anywhere from $20 to $15 per console that's sold, and they know they're not going to see another sale from anything except for maybe accessories from that system beyond that.
Yeah. Because like that's why GameStop has gotten to the way it quit selling digital codes, because they just weren't making enough on it. And most people, if they're going to buy a digital copy, they're just going to do it on their console. They're not going to bother going to GameStop to buy a digital code. You
Right,
know?
because they can pre-install it if they just go ahead and do it from their console. They can pre-install it and have it ready to go by the time the game launches, which has always
Yeah.
been a feature I've loved seeing. I love seeing that now that a lot more companies are utilizing that. That you go and buy it digitally or pre-order it digitally, and go
Yeah.
ahead and go ahead and pre-install it so that way by the launch date it's just a simple unlock and boom, you're ready to
Yeah,
go.
about to say you go ahead and do that 60 you do go ahead and do that 60, 70 gig download for up to like 2 weeks in advance. And like that at midnight on release day, your system does that last like half megabyte of info, which is like legal, just the legal info allowing it to play. And then you launch literally right at midnight, and it's great. Um,
So the main thing, the main takeaway you need to figure out from this is if you're looking at both consoles for the holiday and you're asking yourself, I mean, maybe you're a gamer like us and you have to have both consoles at least at some point after they launch, whether it's on launch day, whether it's after launch. How far after launch is it okay to go ahead and upgrade? So let's look at it this way then. When exactly is the perfect time to upgrade? Should I do this at launch? If you are a diehard fan of it, you gotta have it. You just have to do it. You have to have them, and you have the means to do it. By all means, hey, I ain't gonna control how you spend your money. You want them, go get them. You know what I mean?
go
If you
get them.
have the ability, you can pre-order them. You have them pre-ordered. By all means, go get them. If
Yeah.
you are one that is cash strapped for only one of them, then you have to figure out, okay, which of the libraries do you really, really like? You're going to have the PlayStation, which is going to have essentially only one game that you can play only on that system and that system
Yeah.
only, and that's Demon
Yes.
Souls.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let's bring up the actual launch like exclusives real fast.
uh,
Okay, and the games. The known library of games are basically cover. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right?
Right.
You got Watch Dogs Legion, which both look to be really good games, and
Right.
both are available on all consoles, including the old generations.
Right.
Okay, so you don't need the new consoles to play those games. You got, was it? Of course, you got the new version of Madden and stuff that'll be launching with them.
Yeah, Madden, NBA
Again,
2K. You've got Call of Duty Cold
yeah,
War.
you got Call of Duty Cold War, which will also be on the older console generation as well. It's probably going to have more players there, to be honest.
Right.
When it comes to exclusives, you got Demon Souls, you got Spider Man's Miles Morales, and on terms of the Xbox, you really got Gears of War Tactics.
Yeah, I mean, and Gears Tactics is not a brand new game. It's been out on PC for,
Yeah,
man, what, almost a year now, or going on a year?
yeah, almost a year. And there is something to note about each of these three games. One is Demon Souls. If you're familiar with Souls games or Bloodborne games or Sekiro, it's that type of a really hard, difficult game, you know. So this isn't a game of mass appeal, okay? And it's the
Right.
only one that's going to be exclusively on the PS5. There won't be a version for the PS4 or on any of the Xboxes, okay?
Right. Well, I mean,
So that's
well, the
important to
original Demon Souls was a Sony exclusive too. So I mean,
remember.
it only sounds fitting that it's going to stay exclusive to Sony, but on the PlayStation 5, which is essentially probably what they built that game for to begin with.
With, yeah.
Which I'm okay with, and I'm a huge Soulsborne fan, so I can't wait to get my hands on it. The problem is I just can't find a PlayStation right now. That's the only
See,
problem.
I have pre-ordered Demon Souls, even though I don't have a PlayStation pre-ordered, because I can't wait to play it. But same degree, I can't justify, even if say my local store had a pre-order available for a PS5, I just couldn't justify spending the $400 or $500 for just the one game.
Right.
I just honestly can't justify it right now.
Because there's
Uh,
the one game that has probably a more of a mass appeal that has been touted as a PlayStation 5 game, and then until recently they came back and said this is going to be a PlayStation 4 title as well, was
yeah,
Spider-Man Miles Morales, because the original Spider-Man did exceptionally well on the console, and then they
yeah.
announced Miles Morales, which is not a brand new title but more of like a DLC type spin-off from the original game.
I'd
It,
call it a 1.5 version.
Right. It's a standalone
Yeah,
title. You can buy it standalone away from Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man. But they touted that as like one of the games that you can only play on PlayStation 5. And then until just recently, we realized that's not the case. It's going to be on PlayStation 4 as well.
four.
So it doesn't
Yeah,
give you any reason as to why you should upgrade to a PlayStation 5 this holiday. And honestly,
yeah.
Xbox is the same
I'm
exact
sorry, but
way.
yeah. Xbox does have one advantage though. Gears of War Tactics is a fun game if you're into tactical games, say like XCOM and stuff. You know, the tactic shooter games like that aren't though everyone's cup of tea. Again, it's like a Souls game. They has kind of a niche audience compared to most gamers, and that's important to remember.
Right.
Um, the big advantage Microsoft has is going to be into its Game Pass and the near full backwards compatibility going back for four console generations.
Right.
And
And
that's where we get into the differences of the different consoles.
right. So their Game Pass is going to be the main one that is going to kind of differentiate between the two. Because if you buy an Xbox Series X or an Xbox Series S, I gotta hate those two names. Um,
I do.
the Game Pass is available to you, and it's got over 100 different titles for it that you can play at launch. Um, Now, granted, none of them are brand new next generation titles. You're probably going to have to wait about 6 months to a year until you actually start seeing those, like with Halo. Even though
Yeah.
Halo is coming out on the original Xbox One as well, but you could tell that game was built with the Series X in
With
mind. So
yeah.
you're going to get a much better experience with it on the next generation consoles. But that doesn't come out until next year, hopefully. So in all honesty, if you're looking at both consoles, the time to upgrade might be next year as opposed to this year. There'll be better
Yeah.
stock. There'll be more stock of it. So You don't have to worry about trying to fight people for pre-orders or trying to bombard different websites to make sure you get a pre-order in. You can There'll be more. I won't say they're going to be easily accessible or available because we just don't know, especially with the way the world is right now. We don't know what the what it's going to look like, what stock is going to look like, and stuff like that. We have no
Yeah,
idea. But the time to buy it honestly might be around next fall because I don't see much on the horizon this year or the spring of next year that's going to say you got to have this console to play it. I mean, even God of
yeah,
War, which was showcased as I would assume a PlayStation 5 game, they showed it at their event. Which again, we don't
yeah.
know. That may launch on PlayStation 4 as well. We have no idea. But that had a 2021 date, and I don't see that until around the holidays next year. So the
Very
time
true.
to get it might be holiday next year if you're looking to see whether you need one this year or next year.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, me personally, I will be looking to get these games consoles next summer, and you have options for doing that other than just physical store or online retail when it comes to Microsoft. And that's another thing we're going to talk about with the differences in the consoles here. Okay, and
Hmm.
let's get into the actual differences and similarities real fast. Similarities, both of these machines are running off of a GPU that is based off the same technology. Okay, so they're essentially running almost identical hardware. Just it's gets more detailed than that, but for sake of the average consumer, these are running nearly identical hardware, running nearly identical specs. That is important to get into. When you hear the Sony and Microsoft talk about teraflops, that's just a broad term for basically how many computations the hardware can run in a second. Okay, so the more computations it can run, theoretically, the better the games and everything will look. But that doesn't mean it will.
Right.
A good developer can get around hardware limitations. Okay, and we've seen that in the past with like Doom coming out for the Super Nintendo and stuff, or Morrowind on the original Xbox.
Right. Exactly.
The big groundbreaker is going to be the SSDs. And for SSD, it's a solid state drive. The best way, if you're not a computer person, understand that is think of it as like a giant flash drive card. It moves data a lot faster off that onto your hardware than a traditional hard drive. Okay, which has a rotating disk into it. And the difference is not like twice or three times as fast. The difference is in the neighborhood of like 30 times faster. And the faster the machine can move the data, the faster and smoother the game is going to run. And that will literally allow for like everything from file sizes to actually be dropped, believe it or not, because they won't have to say like put 500 copies of the file of what a tree looks like onto the into the program. It could
Right.
theoretically just use that one file one time, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And while Sony spent a lot of time talking about how fast their SSD is, and Microsoft, you can tell from some of the information they have, but they haven't gone through the same effort promoting it. They have the information called their velocity architecture. Sony's is faster, but it's not that much faster. It really isn't. Like that's kind of splitting hairs. Both of these are much faster than SSDs, which aren't new by the way. They've been out for PC for a couple years, but both of these SSDs coming out available for the PS5 and for the Xbox consoles are much faster than SSDs that have been on PC.
Okay. Yeah. Um, and the other thing we need to make sure we take into consideration and let people know as well, especially the differentiator between the two consoles is accessory lineup. Now the
Yeah,
PlayStation 5, has already
because
said their
controllers
controllers
are expensive.
their controllers are not as expensive as I thought they were going to be dollars, to be honest with you. I mean, 69.99
No,
for a controller, that's
yeah, that's
that's not.
about where they're at now, to
Yeah,
be
that's
honest.
about where they're at now. So I actually thought it was going to be like almost around in the realm of like 89.99 when they first came out. But the fact that they're only 69.99, but your past controllers and all that other stuff doesn't work with the system. The only thing that works with the system that is a previous generation is the PlayStation VR. Um,
VR, yes,
the
which
other
not
stuff
everyone
does
has.
not, which not everybody
Yeah,
has. Um,
Only like 12% of PlayStation 4 owners have a VR set, according to Sony's own estimates.
And as far as the Xbox goes, everything you have from the previous Xbox works with it. So you don't have to, like, if you're going to buy a console, you don't have to sit there and start planning yourself, okay, I need to spend at least another 100 something dollars on extra controllers and a headset. Your previous headset, your previous controllers, all that stuff works with the system just fine.
Right,
The same
right out of the box.
right out of the box. You don't have to buy anything brand new accessory wise. So you and your family member or friend can play the brand new console the day you get it home. When as soon as you hook it up, so you should be good to go from there. Um, and if you're like me and you've got like, I mean, I've got like 8 controllers here in the house for the Xbox. I could use as many of them or any of them that I need to for the new console when we get it in. Um, and then obviously we'll have one of the brand new ones for the Series X. But that's another thing to take into consideration is the accessories are backwards
Yeah.
compatible as well as the games for the Xbox and not necessarily the PlayStation.
Yeah, the PlayStation has a selection of games that are backwards compatible and that they will make available some of the older ones like Bloodborne and stuff for at least the first year for PS5 people. So people that get a brand new PS5 but don't have the money to go and buy a new game like Demon Souls or something can play that selection of these older games. And like I said, some of them they've already given away, like Bloodborne was given away I think 2 years ago or more maybe,
Mm-hmm.
on as a PlayStation Plus game. And a clear advantage, honestly, with Microsoft is the backwards compatibility. Um, I've been playing World of Tanks a lot for the Xbox for over the last 2 years, and it's
Mm-hmm.
still something I play fairly daily. Um, the good thing with me, if I was to get a new Xbox console, I could just unplug my extend blah blah blah. Getting tongue tied here. I could just unplug
It's
my
the phone in
external
the
hard.
background is disturbing it. And,
I could
oh,
just unplug my external hard drive from my Xbox One, plug it into my new console, and literally just pick up exactly where I was. All my saved games are in the cloud or on the hard drive. All my games are on the hard drive. Um, there's even going to be additional backwards compatible games that will be available for the Series X that's not for the current Xbox One X. You know, so there are really some great just convenience of life features, as I like to call them. Okay, so for an Xbox player going to the new Xbox, you really don't have to have a new launch game. You can just go on and play whatever it is you were playing literally the day before, without worrying about losing your spot or running two different consoles at the same time.
right, exactly. So I mean, there's a lot to take in when it comes to that, and when it comes to new consoles. And I think you broke it down pretty well. And I'm sure probably in our
Yeah,
next episode we're going to start talking about a little bit more in depth as to the real fight going on between Microsoft
yeah,
and Sony and the buying up of studios. What can Sony do to possibly combat Microsoft with the purchase of Bethesda here in the past recent weeks?
yeah,
Um, but the other company we didn't mention that could play a role into this holiday going in as well is Nintendo, because the Switch has been on the market for a number of years now. It's still
yeah.
selling exceptionally well. During the pandemic, it was one of the
Hot
consoles
as
it was one of the hottest. It was one of the consoles that sold out quick. You couldn't find them, and that's both the original Switch and the Switch Lites. They were hard to come by. Now they're starting to come a little bit more in stock, as well as the other consoles as well. But Nintendo's going to have a lot to say in this as well. It's not going to be just Microsoft and Sony going into the holiday,
yeah,
but Nintendo as well, and they already have a pretty firm grasp on you know systems that are available now that you can get. There's a lot of titles out there. There's titles coming for it. There's a lot to look at in regards to the Switch as well. If you don't already have a Switch, so maybe you're one of those gamers that doesn't have any of them yet, and you're just
yeah.
trying to figure something out. And if you want to get into console gaming, you have the new Xbox coming. You got the new PlayStation coming. What about the Switch?
Honestly, I don't think there's enough good things that can be said about the Switch. While it's far from being one of the most powerful, being not even as powerful as the current tech or current gen with PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, it is a very powerful little device. And someone that grew up on Nintendo and as a fanboy, if you would, and even like later turned away to go into like Microsoft and Sony, I still have a Switch today, and I actually have more games for my Switch physically than any other console, um, or even system. I think the only thing I have more games on total would be my PC. Um, but the Switch has just an amazing library of games. Some brand new games like Breath of the Wild, which was a launch title, Mario Odyssey. They brought back some classic titles from the Wii U and the Wii with like the Mario 3D All Stars collection
Yeah,
recently.
that
You got you got Mario Super Mario Brothers U from the Wii U, which was a heavily underrated or undersold game, I should say. It's an amazing game that just I think
just
anyone
didn't sell
who
that
likes
well.
classic Mario should play. Well, it didn't sell well. We all know because the Wii U didn't sell well. Okay, and we can talk about like I want to do an episode in the future about why some consoles have sold and why some haven't. You know, um, but for the Switch, the big thing to remember is just do you want to be able to play it on the go or do you want to be able to play it on the go and at home? And that's your only price difference. The Switch Lite is basically like an old Game Boy. It is portable only. You cannot hook this up to a TV. The normal Switch for that $100 extra, you can hook it up to a TV. Okay. There's a couple other little technical details when it comes to like motion controls and stuff, but those really don't have a big relevance to the Switch, like it did say with the Wii.
No, it does
So
not.
yeah, really it's just a relevance of do you want to be able to play it at home on your TV or do you just want it on the go?
Right, and the at home model is $299, and the Switch Lite model, which is just the handheld mode, is $199. So they are much more reasonable in price, especially if you're going to be shopping on a budget, video game wise, this holiday, as opposed to the brand new consoles that are out there now or coming out very relatively soon. I mean, we're a
Yeah,
month
and
away from launch on both of them.
yeah, we're a little less than a month, I think now. But the other thing to note is for families with young kids who or don't want violent games like shooters and stuff of any type in their house, it's really hard to go wrong with Nintendo.
It's
Like
not.
it's
I mean,
really,
they have
really
some on there, but there's not like the great deal that the other consoles have. But I
no,
mean,
like Microsoft is known for Halo and Gears of War, heavily M-rated games. So while Sony doesn't have all M-rated games, it's still its most popular ones are like God of War and was it the Last of Us series? And these just aren't games appropriate for young kids. So,
right. So
but
so
even for some of the more secular families that don't like Pokemon due to terms like evolution and stuff, it's still hard to argue with them over Mario Kart or Mario. A lot of them will still play Super Mario, you know. So it's hard to argue against a Nintendo purchase.
so you have a problem with using the word evolution in Pokemon, but you're cool with the little Italian plumber eating shrooms to get himself more powerful. I mean,
You know what? We have encountered it with game parties and stuff though. So
so um so yeah, that's essentially in a nutshell what you could take away from this first episode that we have is if you if you're dead set on getting one of the consoles, by all means go ahead and get one. We gave you the things to look at between both of them. If you're a fanboy of one as opposed to the other, more than likely you're going to get the console you're a fanboy of, and that's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with it. If you're a PlayStation guy, you want to stick with PlayStation, go right ahead. It's a good choice. If you're a fanboy of Xbox and you're a Microsoft head, go with it. It's a great choice. If you're a fan of Nintendo and you just love everything that Nintendo has to offer, go with it. It's a great choice. You can't go wrong with any of the three that are the main ones out there right now.
no,
And
you really can't. Yeah.
I mean, the only thing you got
I
to
mean,
ask yourself is, is this the year that I should invest heavily into it, especially with new consoles coming out? And me personally, I mean, looking at I mean, everybody's situation is different. Everybody's, financial situation is going to be different going into this year. It's a different world that we live in right now going into this holiday as opposed to past holidays, where Black Friday
yeah,
may not mean the same thing this year as it did in years past. You're probably not going to
Black Friday,
have, yeah,
Black Friday may not even happen in a lot of places.
yeah, Black Friday may not even be a thing in a lot of places this year, just because of everything that's going on. But it'll happen. Something's going to happen to where a
Yeah,
store's going to do it, and it's going to be there'll be something that happens on the news and stuff like that. It happens every year, no matter what the pandemic is. People want that TV. So they're
yeah,
going to find ways to get out there and get it, regardless of what the situation is or what pandemic is going on. They're going to go out there and get it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but it's going to be a different world. Everybody's situation is going to be different. The pandemic has hit a lot of people in different ways. So if you are questioning whether, like, man, I really want to get into one of the new consoles this year, but I just don't know if I don't think I can afford it. If you're on that wavelength, save your money till next year. Honestly,
yeah.
I don't think either company, Microsoft or Sony, are that interested in you upgrading your console to the newer one this year anyway. I think they're already
No,
kind of. That's why you're seeing a lot of companies like Sony and Microsoft saying, look, this is going to be playable on the last generation as well, because they know the world that we live in the financial way that everybody's in right now. They don't want you to go out there and have to just completely empty the bank to buy their new console to upgrade. They want you to wait. That's why none of them have that dead set only on this console title this generation. Um, they want you to kind of hold back. They want you to ease more into the new generation as to go ahead and fully plunge into it as like previous generations.
because one thing to keep in mind when these consoles first come out, companies are either making little off of it to begin with, or some of them are even going in the hole, like with the original Xbox. Microsoft sold that machine at a loss, I think, for the first year.
I think both companies are selling this generation at a loss. I mean, I don't think it's a huge loss, but it's a little bit of a
Yeah,
loss. Just to
yeah.
kind of get things going.
With yeah, on top of that, a lot of people know there's a shortage in laptops and stuff due to COVID for homeschooling and working at home purposes. And a lot of the chips that are used in these consoles are also used in these laptops. So that could also be a big reason to why there's a shortage of supply, to be honest. Don't forget, a lot of these chips are also used in cell phones and smartwatches.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so, and then real fast, we haven't talked about the hidden cost of each system. Because say everyone knows a PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live service has a monthly fee if you already have one of those systems. Okay. So if you have, say, the PlayStation 4 and you're decided you're going to go with the Series X or the Series S just to see what's available, you're going to have that hidden fee there. Okay. Xbox Live is going to cost you about $15 a month. Game Pass, if you want it, is $10 a month. Or I think or no, it's another $15 a month, excuse me, and
The
you
Game
can get
Pass
a
Ultimate is $14.99 a month, and that comes with the online access and the library.
yeah. The big thing about that is your Game Pass. You get your games for gold, 4 free games a week, done 2 at a time. It's kind of awkward the way they do it. First day you get 2 games, and on the 16th of the month you get 2 games. Okay, with Xbox. And starting on the launch day of this console, November 10th, you also get the what they used to call EA Access. I forget I think it's called EA Play now
It's called
or whatever, which is
it's EA All Access is what it's called right now
yeah, it's
currently
basically EA's version of Game Pass. So you'll get Microsoft's Game Pass with EA, you
with
know.
EA. Yeah.
And if you choose to buy one of those games while they're on the Pass Play system, you get a discount for it and any DLC you purchase,
Yep.
which is an advantage. And then with PlayStation, it's also basically runs you about $60 a year or about $15 a month. I want to say like that if you do it monthly, and they give you 2 free games a month for the PlayStation console. Now, from if they do it like they did with the Xbox One and the PS4 launch, there were not a lot of free games the first year. I want that to be taken note of. Okay, I don't think we got our first games for gold for this Xbox X until almost the end of the first year. And PlayStation Plus, the first 6 months, they only gave us two games total: an arcade like top down shooter like a Galaga knockoff and something else. Okay, I can't
Mm-hmm.
even remember. Like it's kind of that insignificant. So with
Right.
Microsoft backwards compatibility, you could claim the old 360 games that they give away, as well as the old Xbox One games, and then you would actually just keep expanding your library. You would have something to play. There is
Right.
a hidden note to the PlayStation Plus, though. You claim the games, but you don't keep them. If your subscription runs out, you cannot play PlayStation Plus games you were given. Now, with Xbox Live Gold service, you claim the game, even if your subscription expires, you can still play it.
Right. It's just the Game Pass stuff you won't have access to anymore.
Access to. That's right.
And,
So,
and Sony is also including the I guess it's like the PlayStation um, greatest hits type of thing for the
yeah,
PlayStation 5 users. That if you are a
yeah,
PlayStation Plus subscriber, you get a handful of their best selling or best titles for the previous generation, which right now would be
yeah.
PlayStation 4. It had
That's
like
what
it's like Infamous, God of War, I think Horizon,
Bloodborne.
Bloodborne. Um,
Yeah, there's some good games there.
yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, but there is something to take in the hair. And quickly, I don't want to leave out PC gamers. It's very easy to focus on consoles specifically because they tend to get the most coverage, and consoles do tend to be the quickest and cheapest way to get into gaming. So
right,
there's a reason why console news tends to dominate gaming. But I don't want to leave out PC people or people interested in PC. A lot of people think PC gaming is complex and very expensive, mostly because the newest graphic card from Nvidia, the GeForce 3090, if I'm right, is like $1,500, and that's just your graphics card. That's not the rest of the computer to actually make it work. But that's not what is literally required to get started. So you don't have to dump $3,000 or something insane like that into a gaming computer. You can start off honestly with a good, decent gaming computer for as little as 100 to $200 more than the new consoles.
right.
Like honestly, I think I've found some on some of the pre-built sites like iBuyPower and CyberPower and stuff, or Exotic PC for like starting packages for like $650.
Yeah, there
You know, and
we were able to snag one on. Oh, I mean, we weren't, but I know when we were working with the previous company I was working for, there was a trailer that was being built that utilized the I can't remember the headset. The
it was
uh,
no, it was a Vive.
it was
It's
the
a Vive.
I think it was the Vive, but they were pre-built PCs that Newegg sold, and they were around $700. So it's it's very doable.
Yeah, and it ran. Yeah, it ran VR, and it was certainly better looking than anything that the PS4 or the Xbox One could duplicate at the time. To be honest,
Right,
you know. So don't let PC gaming fool you. It does get a little more complicated, and the good thing with once you start getting into like the games and stuff itself, especially into the technical side with resolutions and mods and all that stuff. But to be honest, it can be a lot cheaper long run. You can find games cheaper prices and a lot more of them on Steam and Epic Game Store and stuff compared to the game's regular prices on the consoles.
they go on sale more
Okay.
They go on sale more frequently then.
Yes, Steam at least 4 times a year does these massive game sales, and honestly, every week there's at least 1,000 titles on sale on Steam every Monday. You know, Microsoft, I know firsthand, does a big game sale usually around Easter, late in the summer. They do a Black Friday, and then at the end of the year, near literally the 31st, usually the last 2 days of the year, they will do repeat a lot of their best deals. You know, I
Right,
think I picked up, for example, Lego. Was it Lego Super Marvel Superheroes one day for like 4.99? You know,
right, right. So I mean that's when you started hampering like on the on the game sales and stuff like that for PC, and that's always something to look at because a lot of the stuff that's coming out, if they say it's coming out for console, especially with Xbox and stuff on the Game Pass, the Game Pass also works on
Yeah.
PC, so it's cross-gen, cross-platform.
Yeah, and you don't have to use a keyboard and mouse. You can set up an Xbox One controller to run a game like, say, Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat on your PC. And at the same degree, quick note here, the Xbox One currently, as well as the new ones coming out, will work with a keyboard and mouse. A lot of the newer games, you can run a keyboard and mouse in on those shooters and stuff. Halo Infinite will on Series X when it launches will run keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, very very noteworthy there, especially with PC. So I think we're gonna end this episode right here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We've had a few people pop in and out on the channel, so I greatly appreciate you guys popping in. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. We are at the Game Night Lounge on YouTube. We are also at the Game Night Lounge on Facebook, so you can check out all updates on Facebook as well. You can see all the links in the window right above. We got our Facebook one, our Discord. I think we've even got Instagram up there, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. All the social media accounts are there listed on the
Yeah,
screen itself. So
all the good stuff with fake
yeah,
news, you know.
all the yeah, all the stuff is there. So just make sure you check us out on all the different social media platforms. We greatly appreciate it. We're going to try to do this every single week. God willing, we can do it every single week. We're going to try to have different people on the show as well. Um, so just make sure you tune in. We're going to have it. We'll be advertising it on our social media accounts as well when we do an episode. And we would love for you guys to comment your questions to us. We'll try to answer as many of them as we can, like we said before. And yeah, any closing remarks?
Nope. Was it our next show we had planned is Friday around the same time,
Yep,
noon Eastern. We'll be talking about the developer buy-up by Microsoft and Sony, so stuff like Bethesda and Insomniac purchases.
yep.
And we're going to speculate about what companies could be next and why or why not, why or why not they may happen. Um, I think that'll be a fun one to get into, and I'll probably bring up a little bit retro gaming to be honest, to have some fun there, because it's sometimes the best gaming isn't always the newest gaming.
Go
Can't always
dig
you
dig
can't
back in the
forget the
archives.
classics.
Exactly. Dig right back into
Yes.
the archives. I mean, during this whole pandemic, I've been kind of going back into the backlog, playing stuff that I haven't played in years, and trying to either finish it or just get a refresh on it.
Yeah, sometimes I just get fed up with World of Tanks or online shooters, and sometimes I just want to sit back and relax, and it's hard to beat like something like a Mario Brothers 3 during such a time.
Yep, exactly. So thank you guys so much again for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. This stream will also be up on YouTube as well. So make sure if you missed any of this stream at all today and you want to catch up or rewind it back, you can check us out on YouTube as well, and the entire episode will be up there as well. So I am KODX Factor. This is,
Blue Diamond Ben. Peace.
and until next time, everybody, we will see you on our next episode. Later.